Welcome back. I'm Brent Meredith, and if you're just joining us, I'm now talking with Tennessee Equality Project Executive Director Chris Sanders about the upcoming midterm and how that effect might have on each of us. Welcome, Chris. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Brent.
Now, we've got a short time, and there's a lot to talk about, so I think we'll start with the one that people kind of are the most visual, the governor's race. We've got Bill Lee, the incumbent, versus Jason Martin, Dr. Jason Martin, on the Democratic side. What's your prediction, if I can be so blunt?
Well, no one knows, and there was a moment where Governor Lee faltered with the Hillsdale situation. A lot of conservatives around the state were really critical of him. I don't see that that has translated into abandoning him yet for Dr. Martin. Time will tell, and there could be other things between now and the election.
That's a fair point, and I'm glad I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry. I'm glad you brought up the Hillsdale thing, because I was curious what your thoughts were on that, and that sort of that story just continues to unfold in new things and new things.
It does, and it could continue to be damaging for Governor Lee. And I'm just being descriptive at this point. I'm not being aspirational.
Sure.
I'm just saying that was a deeper cut against him than anything I've ever seen since he's been governor. And yet I don't know that it's causing people to abandon him for Dr. Martin. I mean, you know, they may have internal polls that show that they're chipping away at his support. I'm not sure. I haven't seen those. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But if there's anything that's going to get him that affects every part of the state, that touches millions and millions of people, I think it's an education issue. That said, I think he's been a disaster of a governor personally. And I think there ought to be a lot of things that concern average voters around the state. But as of now, I think it's very likely he gets reelected. But that's why it's great that we have a choice. That's why we have this election, because even when the odds are against us, it's important to put up good candidates. And Dr. Martin is campaigning very hard. So the people will have a choice. And I think we need to continue to have a choice in this state.
Fair enough, and that exactly. It's nice to have someone as well-spoken and out there and campaigning like David Martin, or I'm sorry, Dr. Jason Martin. Not our friend David Martin. He's gonna be mad at me for promoting him.
Right.
I was curious, and again, I think I know the answer to this, but all of the Rita controversy with Casada and Cothran and all the stuff that happened, you know, they're out of office now, but any chance any of that would sort of linger around, you think? I mean, are people just sort of past that at this point and don't even care?
I don't think it's going to stick to anybody in particular.
Okay.
I'm not clear on that. And, you know, there was some connection to the governor in the sense that, not the salacious details of that story, but the connection to maneuvering for charter and voucher issues.
Yeah.
And that's how that's somewhat connected. But I don't see that sticking to the governor either, or any of the legislative races. I absolutely think their opponents ought to bring those things up. I think it's wise for Democrats to bring that sort of thing up. But I think if you ask Republican strategists whether it's sticking to any of their legislative candidates, I think they'd say probably no.
Well, that seems to be the sort of the story nationwide. You know, is anything sticking? And oftentimes it seems to be no. People are just sort of dug in and don't care. But you mentioned the legislative races, and I want to make sure we had time to talk about this. So, you know, this is our first foray into the new districts that we're experiencing here in Davidson County. You know, Jim Cooper is retiring, so we've got Heidi Campbell, who is sort of running to sort of try to take at least one of the 3 seats back. We've got John Rose and Randall Cooper for 6, and Mark Green, who's the incumbent, and Odessa Kelly for 7. That's a lot to talk about, but how would you like to address those 3 races?
Well, we've got a member of the community in Odessa Kelly running for Congress against Mark Green in one of the newly sliced out districts. So I think the community will be very interested in that. In the new 5th district, you've got a poll that shows that State Senator Campbell is up over former Murray County Mayor Andy Ogles. I haven't seen other polls, but that is a sign of encouragement that it could be a close race. Who knows what time will tell, but that's a real glimmer of hope, and it's an indication that the campaigns are running very hard. They're working very hard. So I think it's all the more reason for people not to sit these elections out. You've got an opportunity to support a member of the community on one hand, and you've got another close race in another. Now, in the sixth race, Cooper versus Rose, I don't know as much about that one, but that affects East Nashvillians, which will be a lot of your viewers.
Exactly.
And they should look for every opportunity to work in that race. We don't know until we try, right?
Yeah.
This will be the first time for even the incumbent Congressman Rose to run in this district. So it's new to him too. So there is opportunity here. There's an opportunity to see how we do, and there's an opportunity to put some good work in and lay the groundwork for the future. And it matters because it helps move the conservatives if they have closer races.
That's a really good point. And to that point, it would be great to at least maintain at least the one seat, the Jim seat, and have at least one member to represent us. Of course, we would all love to daydream that all three races would go our way, and I'm sure the other side is hoping the same thing. But I am encouraged by Heidi's polling, and her name recognition, I think, helps. And she's just an awesome candidate anyway. We're down to 30 seconds, so I wanted to kind of round out with this. And more of an existential question here, but a lot of people look to you for comfort and thought. How do you keep your cup full these days? We got about 20 seconds.
I meet the best people in Tennessee doing this work, and I mean in every county. We get hit with everything imaginable: attacks on drag, attacks on books, attacks on just everything, gender affirming care. But you meet the people.
I'm sorry, Chris, I hate to cut you off. But we're out of time here. But that is a great answer. Thank you. And we are out of time tonight. I'm sorry, folks, but we will see you next time. Have a good evening.